Now let's talk about deductions and credits. And you know that how you calculate your taxable income. So you calculate your gross income. From this, you make certain deductions from gross income. You get to your adjusted gross income. From this, you make certain deductions. You make standard deduction or itemized deductions. And you may make, if you're eligible, qualified business income deduction. You get to your taxable income. One important deduction is qualified business income deduction, and you may get simulation on this. Again, a clarity on this is very much required regarding what actually is this qualified business income deduction. Little complicated, but important. A taxpayer other than corporation. So a C corporation cannot claim this deduction. Can't be claimed by C corporation. A taxpayer other than corporations may claim, again, depending upon conditions, whether you are able to meet those conditions or not, may claim QBI deduction in respect of qualified trade or business or specified service trade or business, that is in respect of certain specified services. Certain services are specified. You cannot claim QBI for these specified services generally. In law, it is an exception that in certain cases, you may be able to claim for specified service, trade, or business. Because in certain cases, you may be able to claim for specified service, trade, or business. So I have listed it here that you may claim it for specified service, trade, or business. So if you are engaged in any specified service trade, then you may be able to claim. But generally, qualified business income deduction is claimed in respect of qualified trade or business. This is the rule. Your business is qualified. And what actually this means? That is any trade or business other than SSTB, specified service trade or business, or the trade or business of performing services as an employee. All right. First thing is that you are not a corporation. You are not a C corp. Other than corporations, a QBI deduction may be claimed, and it is claimed in respect of qualified trade or business. In certain cases, specified service trade or business can also claim. And what is specified service trade or business? That you're in the business of performing services in the field of health. You're a doctor, lawyer, CPA, actuary, performing arts, consulting, athletics, financial services, brokerage services. If you're in a business of performing your services. So I'm a doctor and I run a clinic and I run it as a business. So it comes into the category of specified service trade or business. Any trade where the principal asset of such trade or business is the reputation or skill of one or more employees. Any trade or business which involves performing of services. And what kind of services? These are not services related to health or law, but these are the services that consist of investing, an investment management, trading or dealing in securities, partnership interest, or commodities. Again, you are in the specified service, trade, or business category. All right. Now here, one thing that you should note is that if services are performed in the field of engineering or architecture, then it is a qualified trade or business. I am a CPA and I run a practice. It is specified service, trade, or business because accounting is covered here. But I am not a CPA. I'm an architect and I perform my services. It does not come in specified service, trade, or business because engineering and architecture are specifically excluded from this. If you are providing services as an engineer or as an architect, then it is qualified trade or business. It is not specified service, trade, or business. Any questions? What amount that you have to claim as deduction? That computation is little complicated. We break this into 3 steps. Step 1 requires you to compute the deductible amount. Step 1, computation of deductible amount. So first you have to calculate the deductible amount, and what it says, taxable income is more than the phase-in range. There is a range. What is your taxable income? This is taxable income before QBI deduction. Before QBI deduction, what is your taxable income? What is your taxable income? Is it within the range? Is it less than the range, or it is more than the range? But what is the range? For merit filing jointly, the range is 329,800, 429,800. This is the range. This difference is $100,000. And how you calculate your deductible amount depends upon what is your taxable income. If we talk about a single filer, let me first talk about not more. If it is, let's say, $100,000, my taxable income is $100,000. In that case, I come into this category. And the deductible amount is 20% of QBI. Now, how you calculate your QBI, what actually QBI means? QBI is your income or gain from business minus business deductions. This is your business income minus that is you get to QBI. So from business income or gain, you deduct business expenses, you get QBI. This is a general statement, but certain things are not included in QBI. What is that? Capital gains and losses, both short term or long term. Your dividend income. We talk about taxable business income. Any amount that is not taxable, you do not consider that. I'm not writing it again. Then you have qualified REITs, dividends. What are REITs? Real estate investment trust. So they declare certain dividends. When we say qualified, there are conditions. Not every dividend from REITs, real estate investment trust, comes into this category. Whenever we use this word qualified, that means there are conditions. You have to see those conditions. Section 199A. Here, qualified REIT dividends are defined, and there are more regulations regarding qualified REIT dividends. You can also refer that, but again, not required from CP exam perspective. Then you have qualified publicly traded. The interest can be traded on stock exchange. Traded partnership income. So you have partnership income. So that actually is not included in your QBI. That is qualified business income. All right. So certain things you should keep in mind that QBI does not include capital gains. It does not include dividends. It does not include qualified REIT dividends and qualified publicly traded partnership income. All right. If your taxable income is not more than the phase out range, and you know the phase out range, I give you an example. If it is $100,000, then deductible amount is what? 20% of QBI. So whatever your QBI is, you take 20% of that. It is easy. So you're done with this. Step one. Let's move to step two. Is your deductible amount. Your deductible amount is 20% of your QBI. Step two. Now you have to calculate combined QBI, and your combined QBI includes two components. First is that the sum of deductible amount for each qualified trade or business. If I am running 4 businesses, I will calculate deductible amount 4 times. That is for each business separately. Do you understand? So if I have 4 businesses, now the question is that are those 4 businesses come into qualified trade or business? So if all the 4 are qualified trade or business, let's say all the 4 are qualified trade or business, then I will have to compute deductible amount separately for each trade or business. Step 1, calculate separately for each trade or business. So you have calculated deductible amount separately for each trade and business. You have moved step 2. Here you have to calculate combined QBI. What is combined QBI? It is sum of these two. First is sum of deductible amounts for each qualified trade or business. So if you have 4 businesses, then deductible amount for all 4 businesses, provided all 4 are qualified. Plus 20% of qualified REIT dividends and qualified publicly traded partnership income. These are included separately here. So it includes these 2 components. Any questions?
So step 2 means step 1 plus 20% of this.
Yes, this is computed in step 1. Let's move to step 3. QBI deduction. How much it is? It is lower of the following. Combined QBI, that is step 2. Or 20% of taxable income minus net capital gains. Let's take an example. Suppose your taxable income is $74,000 and this includes net capital gains of $7,000. Then you have your QBI that is given to you. Let's say it is $100,000. Qualified REIT dividends and partnership income is not given to you, let's say. Qualified partnership, publicly traded partnership income. Let's say not given. How you will calculate your QBI deduction in this case? So step 1. Now, first thing is that whether it is a qualified trade or business, because every business comes into the category of qualified trade or business, except if it is a specified service trade or business, and specified service trade or business also is qualified trade or business. In certain cases, we'll talk about that. So first thing is that whether it is a qualified trade or business, answer is yes. Second thing is that what is your taxable income? Is it within the phase-in range, more than the phase-in range, or less than the phase-in range? Let's say we are talking about single filer. You're not married filing jointly. Let's say you are single and you're filing a tax return, then you have that limit. It is 164,900. This starts here and it is 214,900. So this is the phase-in range. So what is step 1? Deductible amount. And it is 20% of QBI. It comes to $20,000. Step 2 is $20,000. That's what you get from there, plus 20% of qualified REIT dividends and qualified partnership traded income. I have taken 00 in this case. This again comes to 20,000. Step 3, lower off or 20% of taxable income minus capital gains. Your deduction is 13,400. This is deductible. Any questions? Please ask me.
Sir, is it possible, like in this illustration, we have considered the taxable income 74,000 and the qualified business income 100K. So is it possible like taxable income would be lesser than the qualified business income? Because I believe the QBI is already been included in the taxable income, right?
Okay, so suppose you have your salary income and you have your business income. When you add these two, what you get?
taxable.
You
And
add
gross
these two, what do you get?
gross income.
Gross income. From gross income, you make certain deductions.
Right.
You get adjusted gross income. From that, you make certain deductions. You get taxable income. So why your taxable income cannot be less than your QBI?
Got it. Thank you.
Now going back to step one. So far, I discussed only this point. Now I will discuss this particular point. Suppose your taxable income is more than the phase-in range. And in case of single filers, the range ends at 214,900. So if your income, for example, taxable income is somewhere around $300,000, then you come in this category. And in this case, your deductible amount is computed little differently. And what it is. So if taxable income is more than the phase-in range, then deductible amount is lesser of these two things. 20% of QBI or W2 wages or qualified property limit. Calculating 20% of QBI is easy, but what actually is this W2 wages and qualified property limit? Let's see. So because your taxable income is more than the phase-in range, you have to consider W2 wages that you pay. That is wages that you report on W2 form. So W2 form is an income statement by the employer to the employee and also filed with IRS. What wages are reported on W2 form? W2 wages. And then you have qualified property limit. What actually are these? What is this limit? Because my taxable income is more than the phase-in range. That is because I'm a single filer, the range ends at 214,900. This is for year 2021. Because it is more than 214,900, your deductible amount is not simple 20% of QBI, it is lower of 20% of QBI or W2 wages or qualified property limit. Now, what is this W2 wages or qualified property limit? It is greater of 50% of W2 wages with respect to the trade or business, 50% of the wages that you pay in your business, or the sum of 25% of W2 wages plus 2.5% of unadjusted basis immediately after acquisition of all qualified property. We will call that as UBIA. Unadjusted basis immediately after acquisition. 2.5%. Unadjusted basis immediately after acquisition of qualified property. Now, what is unadjusted basis? Unadjusted basis, that is the basis of the property immediately after acquisition. You have acquired any property. What is that? Qualified property. What is the basis immediately after acquisition? Suppose 4 years back, I bought a piece of machinery. I bought it for $20,000. Now its depreciated value is $12,000. I bought it for $20,000. Its depreciated value is, let's say, $12,000 today. What is the unadjusted basis UBIA today? Today, its depreciated value is $12,000. I acquired it for $20,000. What is its UBIA today? Can anybody tell me what is the UBIA today? 20,000. It will remain 20,000. What is the basis immediately after acquisition? When I acquired it, its basis in my books was $20,000. Over the years, I've claimed depreciation on that. Basis immediately after acquisition was $20,000. It will remain $20,000 forever. Any questions on this? Now, what is a qualified property? It is tangible, not intangible. Tangible property, and that is subject to depreciation. Plus held, or it is available for use, you can say, at the end of the year. Plus depreciable period has not ended. Before the close of the tax year. So these three conditions must be met. So if I say a property is a qualified property, because I have to take UBIA of only qualified property, not of any other property. And what is a qualified property? It is tangible property that is subject to depreciation. I still hold it. I have not sold it. I still hold it. I hold it at the end of my tax year. On 31st December, I still have that. And depreciable period has not ended at the end of the taxable year on 31st of December. Depreciable period has not ended. Let's take an example. Suppose you bought a machinery, which is a qualified property on January 12, 2012, and you bought it for, let's say, $10,000. And depreciable period is 10 years. What is the UBIA today? Over the years, it has depreciated. What is the UBIA of this property? Can anybody tell me? Let's say
10,000.
10,000. Great. Its UBI is 10,000. It is 10,000 forever. The basis immediately after acquisition will remain the same 10,000. Basis immediately after acquisition will not change because the depreciable period is 10 years. What is the UBIA for 2012 to 2021? Is 10,000 only. If you are claiming QBI deduction for 2021, what is UBIA? $10,000? Any questions on this? If you are claiming QBI for 2021, your UBIA is $10,000. But if you are claiming deduction for 2022, and if this is the only qualified property that you have, your UBIA will be 0. This is for 2022. Reason? Because depreciable period has ended. Because depreciable period has ended, you do not have any qualified property now. What is your qualified property? None. If this is the only piece of machinery that you have. Because depreciable period has ended, that machinery, which was a qualified property from years 2012 to 2021, is no more a qualified property in 2022 because it is no more a qualified property and you do not have any other qualified property. You actually have zero qualified property. When you have zero qualified property, UBIA is also 0. Any questions? Let's take an example on this. Suppose your taxable income is $920,000 and this includes net capital gains of $40,000. What is your QBI? Your QBI is, let's say, $900,000. Now, first question is that whether your taxable income is within the range, has exceeded the range, or is less than the range. You are a single filer. Because you are a single filer, you are not married, filing a joint return. The phase in range ends at 214,900. The phase in range ends at 214,900, and your taxable income is more than 214,900. Because it is more than 214,900, step one, that is deductible amount, is not simple 20% of QBI. It is not simple 20% of QBI. It is lower of 20% of QBI or wage and property limit. So you need to know what are the W-2 wages for the business. You also need to know UBIA of qualified property. You need to know qualified REIT dividends and qualified publicly traded partnership income. So W-2 wages, so they are $300,000. Let's say UBIA is unadjusted basis immediately after acquisition is $30,000. Qualified REIT dividends are $10,000. There is no qualified partnership traded income. Let's see. Step one. Lesser of 20% of QBI. Second, W-2 wages or property limit. What is that? That is greater of 50% of W-2 wages or 25% of W-2 wages plus 2.5% of UBIA. So what is deductible amount? In this case, deductible amount is lower of these
150,000.
1,50,000, right? Because firstly you will take a greater of these two. So greater is this. Then you will compare 180 to 150. It comes to $150,000. This is the result of step one, deductible amount. Now we will move to step two. It has two components. First is the step one that we get, component one. Component one is deductible amount, that is $150,000, and component two is these 20% of qualified REITs dividends or qualified publicly traded partnership income. In this case, it is 10,000 plus $0, $2,000. That is $152,000. That is combined QBI. Step three. This is lower of what? 152 or 20% of taxable income, which is $920,000 minus capital gains This is the amount of deduction. So your QBI deduction is $152,000. Any questions? All right. We were discussing qualified business income deduction, and this is the deduction that you take from adjusted gross income. So from adjusted gross income, you deduct standard deduction or itemized deduction. You have to choose between standard deduction or itemized deduction. You may be able to claim qualified business income deduction from adjusted gross income, and you get to your taxable income. So from adjusted gross income, two kinds of deductions, standard deduction or itemized deduction. One. Second, qualified business income deduction. Qualified business income deduction is available only if you are engaged in a qualified trade or business. And qualified trade or business is any trade or business other than specified service trade or business, or a trade or business or performing services as an employee. This we discussed last time. Now, qualified business income deduction is available only for qualified trade or business, and it is not available for specified service trade or business. That is a general rule. But in certain cases, qualified business income deduction is also available for specified service trade or business. Or in those cases, specified service trade or business is considered qualified trade or business. So you can say either you can split that into qualified trade or business and specified trade or business, or you can say that qualified business income deduction is available only to qualified trade or business, but it may be available to specified trade or business in certain circumstances. And in those circumstances, you consider specified trade or business as if it is a qualified trade or business. Again, different ways of speaking the same thing. All right. So for easy understanding, we have split this into two, that you may claim QBI in respect of qualified trade or business, and also in case of specified trade or business in certain circumstances. Now, computation of QBI deduction involves 3 steps. We discussed those 3 steps, and step 1 is computation of deductible amount. And computation of deductible amount depends upon your taxable income. So you have phase-in range, you compare that range to the taxable income and see whether your taxable income falls within the range, is less than the range, or is more than the range. Again, depending upon these 3 circumstances, you calculate your deductible amount. And we discussed 2 circumstances, that is your taxable income is not more than the phasing range, that is it is less than. So if we are talking about a single tax filer, his taxable income is less than this amount, this circumstance. In such a case, the deductible amount is 20% of QBI. Simple, easy. Another circumstance, that the taxpayer is single and has a taxable income that is more than 214,900. It is more than this. In that case, deductible amount is lower of 20% of QBI or W2 wages or qualified property limit. How you calculate W2 wages and qualified property limit, that you know. Now, let's talk about third circumstance, that is taxable income is within the range. It is within the range. So if taxable income is within the phase-in range, then the deductible amount is 20%. Deductible amount generally is 20% of QBI, but it is reduced by reduction. A reduction is applied. So you don't get a deduction, you cannot get a deduction of 20% of QBI, because 20% of QBI has to be reduced by an amount. What is this amount? What is this reduction? This reduction is 20% of QBI minus W2 or property limit multiplied by phase out percentage. How you calculate this phase out percentage? It is taxable income minus threshold divided by 50,000 or 100,000 if merit filing jointly. What is the threshold? Threshold is for merit filing jointly, it is 389,800 starting of the threshold limit, the phase-in limit. What is the starting of phase-in limit for merit filing jointly? It is 329,800. This is for merit filing jointly. For others, it is 164900. This is the threshold. So this is how you actually calculate your phase out percentage. All right, let's take an example on that. Let's say we are talking about A and B who file a joint return and taxable income is 389,800. QBI is given to you 300,000. W2 wages 40,000 and unadjusted basis immediately after acquisition of qualified property is, let's say it is 0. And you don't have qualified REITs, dividends is also 0. Let's qualified publicly traded partnership income is also 0. How you're going to calculate? Step 1 is you have to calculate the deductible amount. Deductible amount is 20% of QBI minus reduction. What is this reduction? This reduction is 20% of QBI minus W2 limit, W2 property limit. Greater of 50% of W2 wages, that is $20,000. 25% of W2 wages, that is $10,000 plus 2.5% of UBIA, which is 0. So greater is 20,000. This has to be multiplied by the phase out percentage. How you calculate this phase out percentage? This is taxable income 389,800 minus starting of the limit 329,800 divide by, because it is merit filing jointly, this is it, and this comes to, this is 60% in this case. Any questions? It's a lot of calculations here. Deductible amount is equal to 20% of QBI minus reduction, which is 20% of QBI minus W2 property limit, which is 20,000 multiplied by 60% phase out. This comes to 60,000 minus 24. It comes to $36,000. Step 1 is done. Any questions? All right. Let's move to step 2. Step 2, it actually is a sum of two components. So component 1 is this item, $36,000, and component 2 is 20% of qualified REIT dividends, and qualified publicly traded partnership income, which is 0 and 0 in this case. This is 0. This comes to 36,000 in total. Step 3, you compare this to taxable income. So it is lower of $36,000 or 20% of taxable income minus net capital gains, which is 0 in this case. This comes to 20% of this is 77,960. Lower of this is section 199A deduction. You also call that QBI deduction. In case it is within the phase-in range, then you have to do a little bit more calculations. The general rule is that step 1 deductible amount is 20% of QBI, but in case your taxable income is falling within the range, then you reduce this 20% of QBI by an amount. You call that reduction. What is that reduction? Reduction again is 20% of QBI minus W2 property limit multiplied by phase out percentage. What is this phase out percentage? What is the percentage by which your taxable income exceeds the threshold? Taxable income minus starting of threshold, divide by, depending upon whether you are married filing jointly or single, $100,000 or $50,000, you get to phase out. Once you calculate the deductible amount, then other things are easy. Step 2, step 3 is easy. Now let's talk about specified service, trade, or business. The general rule is that QBI deduction, section 199A deduction, is not available in respect of specified service, trade, or business. It is not available. But in certain circumstances, specified service, trade, or business is considered a qualified trade or business. And because it is considered a qualified trade or business in certain circumstances, it is eligible for section 199A deduction. Now, first thing is that when you can claim deduction for section 199A in respect of specified service, trade, or business, as that depends upon the taxable income and the phase out range. We have talked about 3 circumstances: that your taxable income is more than the range, phase in range, less than phase in range, or within the phase in range. Basis this, we are going to say that, okay, whether specified service, trade, or business is eligible for section 199A deduction or not. So if in respect of specified service, trade, or business, I'm talking about if the taxable income is more than the range, section 199A deduction is 0. No deduction is available. I'm only talking about specified service, trade, or business. If taxable income is not more than, in this case, same as qualified trade or business, what you did earlier, no change. Section 199A deduction remains the same, and this happens when taxable income is not more than the phase in range. Any questions up till here? Third situation, taxable income is within the phase in range. In such a case, if taxable income is within the phase in range, your deductible amount is same, but there's a slight difference. Difference in how actually you calculate your QBI, W2 wages, and UBIA, that is unadjusted basis immediately after acquisition of qualified property. 3 things get impacted, that is QBI, W2 wages, and UBIA. are recalculated. So you have that applicable percentage multiplied by QBI, you get QBI. Applicable percentage multiplied by W2 wages, applicable percentage multiplied by UBIA. So you are actually reducing QBI. You are reducing W2 wages. You are reducing UBIA by multiplying these figures by applicable percentage. Once you multiply QBI with applicable percentage, W2 wages by applicable percentage, UBIA by applicable percentage, the figures that you get, you will use these figures in order to calculate your deductible amount. So more calculations in case of specified service, trade, or business. Now, what is this applicable percentage? You know the phase out percentage you calculated here. So applicable percentage is 100 minus phase out percentage. So in the example that we just did, phase out percentage was 60, so applicable percentage is 40. Any questions? And this all I'm talking about only for specified service, trade, or business. So in certain circumstances, specified service, trade, or business does not get any deduction. And this happens in case the taxable income is more than the phase-in range. Let's take an example. So let's take the same example, same data. And this is the data that we have. We will use the same data in order to calculate Section 199A deduction for specified service, trade, or business. Let's see how Section 199A deduction will change because of this. So what data you have? You have taxable income, and we are talking about specified service, trade, or business. Taxable income is 389,800. Your QBI is 300,000. This is the data that we have. We have to calculate two things first. First thing is, what is the phase out percentage? Because this is a case of merit filing jointly. What is the applicable percentage? All right. Now you have to recalculate W2 wages. Right? And UBIA and QBI. So your QBI comes to $1,20,000, $16,000, and this is 0. Any questions? Now, once we have got this, step 1, because in this case, your taxable income is within the range, your deductible amount is 20% of QBI minus reduction. What is reduction? 20% of QBI minus wages limit, W2 property limit. W2 property limit, let's calculate it as greater of 50% of W2 wages, 8,000. 25% of W2 wages plus 2.5% of UBIA, that is $4,000. Greater is $8,000. So this is the amount. Multiplied by phase out percentage, which is 60. Any questions? Step 2. It has two components. Component 1 is, second is 20% of qualified REITs dividends and qualified publicly traded partnership income. Step 3. Lower off minus capital gains 0. It comes to and the lower amount is 14,400. That is section 199A deduction. Now, if you see, we calculated QBI deduction using the same data, but the only difference is that in the last example, it was a qualified trade or business. In this example, it is specified service trade or business. And you see the amount of deduction. In this case, it is 14,400. And in the last example, it was 36,000. And in case of specified service trade or business, just remember three things. You have to calculate the deductible amount in the same manner. Except that in case taxable income is more than the phase-in range, no QBI deduction. If it is less than the phase-in range, same 20% of QBI, no change. But if it is within the phase-in range, then you recalculate three things: QBI, W2 wages, UBIA. Once you recalculate, use these recalculated figures. All right. Any questions? Okay.
Sir, in that step 1 now, you got this 14,400. Sir, I'm not getting this calculation. So, percent of 1,20,000 is 24,000. And so where, I mean, 9,600 comes.
This is reduction. 9,000.
Okay, it's the greater of the 8,000 or 4,000 we have taken here.
This is W2 and property limit.
Yes.
We discussed how you have to calculate W2 property limit.
Yes.
So that is greater of 50% of W2 wages. And this is 25% of W2 wages plus 2.5% of UBIA.
No, so in this calculation, after like, how did you arrive at this 9,600 is my question.
9,600 is this 20% of 120,000. I'm talking. This is 9,006.
This is the entirely the reduction by itself.
This is the reduction.
Okay, that's what I was missing.
Okay, so this is the reduction amount.
Okay.
Any other question?
So Manisha, this side, I just wanted to know if the taxable income and the phase-in range amount same. So the applicable percentage will be 100%. But what if the taxable income and the phase-in range, the initial income, that is 329,800,
If it is 329,800, it is not more than the phase in range. Okay, let's go back to this thing. You're saying so instead of 389,
It's
800,
329.
it is 329. So let's see.
Yeah.
Let's work out. Phase out range is 0% in this case.
Yes, sir.
Fine. If the phase out range is 0 and applicable percentage will become 100%,
Yes, sir.
actually you're falling in this category. You're falling in this category. Even if you do your calculation using this,
Okay.
you will get to this because it is not exceeding that 329,800.
Okay.
So you can do with either this or this. You can try this back home and see whether you're getting the same thing or not. From my understanding point of view, yes, you should get the same thing, whatever you use.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, let's take an example when you have multiple businesses. Let's say your taxable income is 272,000, and this includes your salary income. Will it make any difference? My question to you. You have 3 businesses. QBI is $1 million. In this case, again, you have $1 million, and here only $2,000. W2 wages for these businesses are given to you $500,000 in this case, let's say. First question was that your taxable income is 2,722,000, that is $2.7 million roughly, and this includes your salary income. Does it make any difference? Answer: it does not make any difference actually. Yes, in case it has capital gains, yes, then you will consider that in QBI calculation in step 3. But otherwise, it does not make much of a difference. All right, so you have 3 businesses, X, Y, and Z, and QBI, W2 wages, and unadjusted basis immediately after acquisition of qualified property are given to you. It is 0. Then you have your qualified REITs, dividends, 0, and qualified publicly traded partnership income, 0. This is the data that you have. So how you're going to calculate your section 199A deduction if you have multiple businesses? You're going to calculate deductible amount. That is step 1. Separately for all the businesses. Now in this case, okay, you are going to calculate the deductible amount, but when you are calculating the deductible amount, you have to see whether your taxable income is within the phase in range, more than the phase in range, or less than the phase in range. In this case, it is somewhere around $2.7 million. This is more than the phase in range. Right? Because it is more than the phase in range, your deductible amount is lower of 2 things, 20% of QBI or W2 property limit, W2 wages property limit. What is QBI? It is $1 million, that is $200,000. In this case, 20% of QBI or W2 wages, which in this case is greater of 50% of wages. 25% of wages plus 2.5% of UBIA, which in this case comes to greater is $250,000. Lower is this amount. This is your deductible amount for business X. For business Y, again, you will calculate the same manner. In case you do not understand anything, please ask me. In this case, again, your QBI is $1 million. So 20% of this, $200,000. W2 wages limit I'm calculating here. It is greater of 50% of wages, 0. Second, 25% of wages plus 2.5% of UBI is 0. So 0, and lower of this is this. Lower of 20% of QBI, 2000 is your QBI, 20%, that comes to $400. And W2 limit is 50% of wages, that is $250,000, and 125 plus 2.5%, that is $250,000. Step 1 is done. What is step 2? Let's go back. Step 2, that is combined QBI. The combined QBI includes two components. First is the sum of deductible amounts from each qualified trade or business carried on by the taxpayer. And the second component is the same. So component 1 is $200,000 plus 400, that comes to $200, 400. Component 2 is 0, 20% of qualified REITs dividends and qualified publicly traded partnership income. Total comes to. Moving to step 3, easy. It is lower of 20% of taxable income minus capital gains.
This 0 is for capital gain tax, right?
This one?
Yeah.
These are your capital gains. Net capital gains. Any questions? So in case you have multiple businesses, you will calculate deductible amount. That is just step 1. And you can see how step 1 is changing in different circumstances. If it is SSTB, your step 1 changes. If you have multiple businesses, how you do it. Again, step 1 depends upon your taxable income and phase-in range.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please ask.
Sir, in the taxable income, you specifically said that it includes the salary income.
I just gave an example. May include certain other incomes also. Whatever is your taxable income before giving QBI deduction. Before QBI deduction, what is your taxable income?
Okay. I just want to know, in this case, the deductions on the salary income and everything will be catered before, right? So we get the net salary income.
Yes. The way you calculate your gross income, the way you calculate your adjusted gross income, the way you calculate your taxable income. But when you're calculating your taxable income, just ignore QBI
for
the purpose of QBI deduction.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Now we will take another example where you have loss in one of the businesses and how you're going to deal with that. So you have multiple businesses and one of the business has loss. Let's take the data and see how you're going to calculate that. Suppose your taxable income. You have three businesses, X, Y, Z. But here you have a loss, negative QBI. W2 wages, take the same figure. Again, your qualified REIT dividends, 0, and qualified publicly traded partnership income, 0. How are you going to calculate that? Now you have this loss here. You have a loss, then obviously you cannot claim QBI deduction for business Z. You cannot claim QBI deduction for business Z. You can only claim QBI deduction for business X and Y. But in this case, you have to recalculate QBI for X and Y. So you will divide this loss, 600,000 loss, between X and Y in the ratio of QBI. So what is their QBI? Their QBI, these two figures are QBI. So you divide this 600,000. So recalculate, but before that, divide 600,000 between X and Y in the ratio of QBI. That comes to $300,000 here, $300,000 here. Recalculated QBI comes to $700,000 here, $700,000 here. Any questions? And your total QBI remains the same. Total QBI earlier was how much? Earlier your QBI was $1.4 million. This figure is $1.4 million. Still it is $1.4 million. But two things. Firstly, you cannot calculate QBI for business Z because it has negative QBI. No deduction is available for business Z. But this negative QBI is divided among those businesses, those who have positive QBI. So if X and Y has positive QBI, you are dividing that in the ratio of positive QBI. All right. Now we are talking about business X and Y. And again, step 1, let's calculate that. Because taxable income is more than the range that is lower of 20% of QBI. Or W2 wages and qualified property limit Any questions? Your taxable income is, which is your taxable income? Includes capital gains $30,000. Any questions? Let's take one more question regarding this. Suppose we are talking about 2020, not 2021, 2020. Your taxable income is, and again, I'm taking that you do not have any qualified REITs, dividends, and qualified publicly traded partnership income is also zero. And you have three businesses, X, Y, and Z, and your QBI, W2 wages, UBIA. These three things are given to you because you calculate your deduction basis these three and taxable income, deductible amount, $1 million, $1 million. But here you have negative 2150. This is a loss. W2 wages are given to you 500,000. UBIA is zero. Now, you know that in case any of the businesses has negative QBI, you allocate that QBI, negative QBI, among those businesses who have positive QBI. So in this case, positive QBI is for X and Y, but actually the amount of loss or amount of negative QBI is very large. So your net QBI is what? Net QBI is negative. How much? $150,000 negative. Now, what is your section 199A deduction? There is no point calculating this deduction because you have negative QBI and your section 199A deduction is zero. But this you will carry forward to the next year or the succeeding years and consider it as a separate business. Consider it as a separate business next year. How? Let's say. Now talk about 2021. You take it forward. And what is your taxable income for 2021 is $960,000. Again, you do not have qualified REITs, dividends, zero, qualified publicly traded partnership income, zero. You have three businesses, X, Y, Z. Things have not changed. You still have three businesses. Negative QBI. Because you considered negative QBI carried forward as a separate business, so I have included one more column for this. $200,000, $150,000 positive, $120,000 negative, and this you have carried forward $150,000. Now sum them up. Is QBI still negative? My question to you, is QBI still negative?
No.
No. It is positive. How much?
80,000.
80,000. And you guys know what is the rule regarding negative QBI? If any trade or business has negative QBI, what you do? If any trade or business has negative QBI, what you do?
So allocate to the positive income.
All right, we will do the same. We will do the same. In which ratio? 4:3. So what is the total amount of negative QBI you have? You kind of have 4 businesses, although you are running 3 businesses, but because you have carried forward negative QBI, you are considering it as a separate business. So now for calculation point of view, you have 4 businesses and 2 of them have losses. Total loss is $270,000. You divide this in the ratio of 4:3, you get 154,278, 115,722. Right? This total comes to 80,000. Again, you are going to follow the same process. You will calculate. I'm not completing this question. You will calculate deductible amount, that is step 1 for business X and Y separately. And once you have done that, you will move to step 2, where you have 2 components. Component 1 is the deductible amount for business X plus deductible amount for business Y. Add component 2. After that, you move to step 3. So in this, you will do step 1. You will complete this. So answer is, in this case, I tell you the answer in case you want to do section 199A deduction. In this case is this amount. So complete this question back home. Okay, so you calculate deductible amount for each business separately. If you have multiple businesses, you are going to calculate deductible amount for each business separately. You have 10 businesses, calculate deductible amount for 10 business separately. But here you have an option. When you have multiple businesses, you have an option. It is that you may elect to aggregate multiple trade or businesses. So you can aggregate multiple trade or businesses and consider all those businesses as one. I have 5 businesses. General rule is that I have to calculate deductible amount. That is step 1. I have to calculate deductible amount for all 5 business separately, and that's what we have done. We took an example for 3 businesses. You calculate deductible amount for all 3 businesses separately. But you have an option. You can combine all the businesses. When you combine all the business, you consider all the businesses as one business. So I have 5 businesses, but I will not calculate deductible amount for 5 businesses separately. I will calculate deductible amount as if I have only one business. I'm talking about aggregation rules. Aggregation. So you can aggregate multiple businesses. You may elect. It is not that you have to, but you may elect to aggregate multiple businesses and consider that as one business. If you do so, if you elect to aggregate, then what happens? Like you combine 3 things of all the businesses, and you guys know those 3 things: QBI, W2 wages, and UBIA. This is what we have been talking about businesses. Combine these 3, and when you combine these 3, you get 1 QBI, 1 W2 wages, one UBIA calculate deductible amount once, or you will have only one deductible amount. All right. But can you elect to aggregate? I have 5 businesses. Can I elect to aggregate all the businesses? Yes, I can elect, but I have to satisfy certain condition before making this election. It is not that in the morning I decide that, okay, I will aggregate all the businesses and I compute my section 199A deduction by aggregating QBI, W2 wages, UBI of all the businesses. It is not that. First thing I have to check is that whether I am eligible for election or not, whether I can actually elect or not. If I can elect, I may elect. First thing I have to check whether I am eligible for this election. So there are certain rules, conditions that you have to check before making an election. You are checking whether you're eligible for election or not. So if you own more than 50% of each trade or business, you can elect. This is one of the conditions. Another condition is that none of the trade or business should be specified service trade or business. These trade or business provide services or goods that are generally offered together. Trade or business have common facilities or resources such as accounting, personal, HR, manufacturing, legal. These trade or businesses operate in coordination with each other. There are interdependencies. If all these conditions are met, then only you can make an election. All right. Let me write a few of these conditions. Although conditions are detailed, but I am just giving you a few conditions in short that you have some idea regarding this. And generally, all the conditions must be met. But again, there are more rules regarding these. First is that same person owns more than 50% of each trade or business. So same person owned more than 50% of each trade or business. None of the trade or business is specified trade or business. Then you may aggregate all the businesses. Services are generally offered together. These businesses share facilities, resources. There are interdependencies. You may be able to aggregate all the businesses. All right, so let's do an example on this. see here. If you see, we are taking the same data. This is the data that we are taking. But in this example, we calculated deductible amount separately for all the businesses for X, Y, and Z. Now we are taking the same data and applying the aggregation rules. Step 2 has two components. C1 is 400,400 and C2 is 20% of 0 plus 0, that comes to 0. Any questions? All right. So here the amount of deduction is 400, 400. 400, 400 is the amount of deduction in this case. And if we look at the original question where you did not apply the aggregation rules. Here you did not apply the aggregation rules. This is the one. Here you did not apply the aggregation rules. And here the amount of deduction is 200, 400. So by applying the aggregation rules, you are able to increase your section 199A deduction. But again, you have to check whether you are eligible for this election or not, whether you can actually aggregate multiple businesses or not. All right. We'll connect this Tuesday. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.